going on, sports fans? Wes Pruitt, Four Star Sports Media. Thank you, everybody, watching and listening. We're live today on our YouTube page and on our Twitter page. Hope everyone has joined in. Welcome in. Welcome to the show. Have a seat. We got a plate full for you again today. We're going to go over some NHL. We're going to go over some college baseball. We're going to go over some college softball. We're going to talk a little bit of MLB as well. And we're not going to do it alone. We got John Stardivant in the house as well. So let's go ahead and get him in the room now. What's up, Johnny boy?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. So let's start with a little bit of NHL. We saw Canada get a thrilling win last night as Connor McDavid would lift the Canadian team to a championship in an overtime winner, as we would see a 9-day tournament that captured the hearts of America. And further on, Connor McDavid would score in overtime to secure the Canadian championship. Big time stuff, man. And we I find it very interesting because we recently saw that the MLB will not be covering Major League Baseball. I'm sorry, ESPN will not be covering Major League Baseball going into next season. So I ask you this, John, with as popular as this Four Nations tournament is, and kudos to whoever created this, a beautiful, beautiful thing. Do you think that we'll see more NHL on ESPN now that baseball won't be played as much?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this before, I believe, and we talked about how ABC is getting a lot of coverage now, and ESPN. Well, guess what? ESPN owns ABC because that's part of the Disney package, right? So, kind of think it would be because think about it, you got it pretty much right now on Wednesday nights, and now you got it on Friday nights, and now going forward, you might have to see a little bit more Sunday night action as well going forward too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Big time stuff last night. A lot of fun. Um, we saw Sidney Crosby join Wayne Gretzky as a second player to captain two championship teams in NHL international tournament play. And we also saw the goalie from the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Bennington, is the only goaltender to play every second for a country in the Four Nations faceoffs. He stopped 31 of 33 shots in the championship game, including, and you can go back and check our Twitter feed, there is some highlight reel saves from Bennington. He was 3-1 in this tournament, John, and a lot of fans, when they lost that one game, were going, "Oh, we got to bench this guy. He sucks." Well, guess what? Without Jordan Bennington, you don't have a championship today. He had a .907 save percentage. So big time stuff. Before we get over to our next topic, which is college baseball, I do want to mention that if you need some tickets, head over to SeatGeek now. When you do, type in that promo code you see there on your screen. For those of you listening, it's Four Star Sports Media. We will save you $20 off your first ticket purchase of $50 or more. If you don't believe us, ask John. It works.
Yeah,
Um,
I also want to say this on the final four what they were doing. I
yep.
hope it goes. I hope they take. I hope we'll talk about this later on. I'm sure, but I hope it goes. I hope other places take notices as well. Going forward of how they can entertain fans going forward too, and I hope that the NHL does keep this, which I'm sure they will now because they're getting a lot of positive feedback. I love how they do like a couple rounds in Canada. And then I also love how they go down to Boston and let the U.S. fans experience it as well. I mean, at first I was not really a big fan of NBA arenas having hockey at the same, in their arenas as well. But now looking back at it, that's pretty much the best way to do it.
Oh, agree.
So,
Agree. 100.
so I think going forward, if they can have it like on a Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday up in Canada, and then Saturday and Sunday up down in the States, I'm all for it
Yeah,
because we saw it. The Canadian fans hate U.S. fans. U.S.
and they do.
fans hate Canada. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man. No doubt. All right, let's jump over and talk a little college baseball because we talk more than one thing here on the Sports Buffet. We talk a plateful. And let's start with a little bit of Memphis baseball as the Tigers take on Valparaiso starting today. You can head over to fourstar.live. We've got an in-depth deep dive into this series. But I want to mention just a couple things, John, before we get started. Number one is this. Number one, Memphis ranks number one right now, tied for number one in double plays turned with 6 through the first opening weekend. John, you've watched this team for years. We've both watched this team for years. We spoke with Matt Roger just a couple weeks back. On opening day, you saw Kay Tucker and Cy Turner each slug home runs in their first at bat as Tigers. We know this team's got power. We've seen that. But what I love, John, is this team seems to be utilizing different styles along with that power. Big time 2-1 opening series win over a SEMO team, Southeast Missouri, that many may forget was right here in Fayetteville, Arkansas last year, taking on the Razorbacks and the Kansas State Wildcats in an absolutely exciting regional final. What's your thoughts on the opening win last weekend, John? And then today, 2:00 first pitch, they take on Valparaiso.
Yeah, as many fans like yourself and our fan base at the University of Memphis, I think they're pretty much, yeah. You took 2 out of 3 against a quality opponent in SEMO, who, like you said, made a regional last year in Fayetteville. So whenever you start the year 2-1 off to a team that you could probably see going forward that are the favorites again to go back to regional and SEMO, I think that's off to a great start. The only thing that really concerned me was that one game where I think it was game 1 where SEMO actually out hit you 11-6. But you brought up double plays, you brought up got outs at the right time, and then
100%.
like Coach Reiser brought up also, there's a lot of new faces, so they're still kind of getting used to this new lineup. They're still getting new to each other. And also, I think off to a great start to 2-1. Yeah, like you brought up in your article, Valpo's 0-3. You got to take advantage of another team like Valpo who's 0-3 on the season. And then I know they got a pitcher today that's got like a 3-point ERA or whatever. But your
Yep.
Saturday and Sunday starters for Valpo, they gave up a lot of runs. So that's when
Yeah,
you
30. One guy's got like a what 33 ERA, I think is what I put in the article last
get
night.
a
But
54.0 something ERA.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll definitely have to get your bats early on and get some runs in because this is a team in Valpo you really never. It's hard to figure out because they also played another team that made some regionals in the years past in Sanford.
yep.
So don't take the Valpo team 0-3 record lightly. Let's just say that.
No, you definitely can, and it starts today, 2:00, 2:05. Sorry, first pitch. It'll be on ESPN Plus. I'll have dual TVs going today because you got Memphis baseball, and we're going to talk about it in a minute. But Memphis softball plays at 3 today. And John, to your point, a total of 14 Tigers returned from last year's roster, but Memphis did welcome 26 newcomers this fall. And these are guys that we're going to see throughout the season continue to make impacts. This team's young, man. This team's got a lot of talent. And when you look at the Valpo series, this will be the 7th, 8th, and 9th all-time meeting between these two teams. The Tigers do currently lead the series over the Beacons 5-1, as they would sweep the Beacons in 2009 and then took 2 out of 3 back in 2022. John, let's shift gears to a different conference, a conference that I want to take a look at, and that's the Big 12. Currently, when you look at the Big 12 right now, there's some ball clubs that are playing pretty good baseball, John. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, all 5-0. That's Arizona State, Baylor, Kansas, TCU, and Utah. Then you've got 2 teams at 3-0. It's UCF and West Virginia. And then everyone else has got a loss. Some teams are 0-3 right now, like Texas Tech. Oklahoma State, team that we thought was going to be really strong this year, currently sitting at 1-3. Now we know very, very early on in the season, right? A lot of things can happen, a lot of things can take place. But we talk about the Big 12. You've got a very important tournament going on down in Arlington, or a preseason deal going on down in Arlington, Texas right now, where you got TCU will take on Michigan today. You've got Arkansas will take on Kansas State. It's big time stuff, man. Today, then tomorrow, you got Kansas State taking on Michigan. You got TCU taking on Arkansas. And then on Sunday, you've got Kansas State taking on TCU. What's your thoughts on the Big 12, man? It's a conference that we talked a lot about them during football season. Now we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit more of baseball, softball, other sports as they come. But in 2024, Kansas State and West Virginia both won NCAA regionals, making the sixth consecutive year that multiple Big 12 teams have reached super regionals. It was the first time the Mountaineers had advanced to the super regionals, and just the second time the Wildcats had done it in program history. What's your thoughts on a baseball conference that many people thought when Texas and Oklahoma left, it was going to really hurt the conference?
I mean, I've been following the Big 12 last couple of years just because, one, you see a lot of players that aren't happy at their spot. They go to Big 12. So we know the Big 12 has always been powerful for the conference. It's just that a lot of people, like you brought up, UCF is off to a great start already. And then Oklahoma State, a team that, man, their basketball team is struggling. Their football team struggled this year. Yeah, they're 4 games in baseball this year. They're 1-3 also. And Oklahoma State had an interesting game this week against Texas State where 17 strikeouts, not pitching, but hitting for Oklahoma State in one game this week against Texas State. So, yeah, it's early on. But the thing that concerned me right now with Oklahoma State, 17 strikeouts in one game is not very good to have a good season so far. But yeah, the Big 12 is always going to be powerful, and I'm seeing a lot of people transfer to Big 12 country lately, like in years past. So it's good to see.
It is. At Oklahoma State, in case you forgot, preseason poll was ranked number 1. They had 9 first place votes with 163 points, while Arizona had 4 first place points, was second. TCU was third. All right, man. Let's jump over and talk a little bit of college softball because, like I said, we talk it all here. And let's start with a team that, John, they're 8-3 right now. That ties the most wins for this program in the last 2 years. I'm talking about the Memphis Tigers. They're one of the top offenses in the country early on in the season, John. Is that, before I get into the stats, does that statement right there shock you based on what we've seen in the last couple of years?
All right, can you repeat that statement for me? I do apologize.
Sure. The Memphis Tigers softball team has one of the most top offenses in the country early on in the season.
In a way, yes. In a way, no. Maybe. I would say no, just because you see a lot of players taking advantage of certain spots throughout the year, and in a way, yes, I would say because you still see a lot of other schools as well have a lot more power as well. So that really doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, right now you look at Memphis; they're 10th in the nation in batting average with a .380 team average. They're 11th in the country in doubles with 21, 5th in the country with hits with 113. They are 11th in the nation in RBIs with 78, 10th in the country in total runs with 92, and 13th in the nation with runs scored per game at 8.4. Tigers hit the road this weekend, John. Big time stuff. As a lot of people lately have been complaining about who they've been playing. Well, they're going to get challenged this weekend, John. They got big time stuff to play. Kennesaw State today, 3 o'clock over on ESPN Plus. Tomorrow they got a doubleheader as they take on number 24 ranked Kentucky. It's a top 25 team, folks. And then the Dayton Flyers. Those two games will be played on the Georgia Tech campus there in Atlanta, Georgia. And then finally Sunday they will take on Georgia State for a doubleheader. First game starts at 11 a.m. Second game will begin at 1:30. Those games will be played on the campus of Georgia Tech. John, we saw some history continue to be made with this team recently. Riley Dugar, big time stuff, man. She tossed the program's 14th no hitter last week in a 8-0 win. In the second game, which was a 19-0 absolute rout, the Tigers scored 16 runs in the second inning, which is the most single inning runs scored in program history. Zoe Adebayo, we talked to her dad Sunday recently, but Zoe's playing really well. Neely Taylor's lighting it up. Kennedy Simeon's lighting it up. We talked to Coach Prater, John. One thing that really stuck out to me about that conversation was this. She wanted this program to know you can make a mistake and we move on. We find the positives from your mistake. It's a new culture, obviously, in Memphis and in the 901 with softball. And John, I'll be honest with you, man, it's impressive to see Riley Dugar pitching well in the circle. There's a lot of confidence in that circle this year. You would think having a coach that was a pitching coach previously would boost the pitching, but that didn't happen. But you look at them now, John, there's confidence in the circle, and Riley Dugar is pitching really well.
Let me first of all say this. Looking back at it, 8-3. A lot of people would complain about the schedule. Guess what? Some of the schedule is already made from last year's coach.
It's been done.
So you can't really complain about the schedule when Coach Prater really hasn't put a full schedule together under herself yet. So I know a lot of people will say you're playing a team like in Lindenwood, but guess what? Lindenwood is now D1. They're in the Ohio Valley Conference, so if anybody wants to do any research on that, go ahead. Hampton,
Yep.
They're always powerful because think about it, they always kind of make it at large bid because they're the favorites in their conferences. You brought up the Northwestern State Classic in your article this week. Last time I checked, Jacksonville State and Northwestern State has always been a powerful program. Yeah, you go 1-3 in that, but you were competitive in your games also against Northwestern State. So every game you're competitive. And then you brought up this weekend, Kennesaw State, Friday at 2, or that's today, I'm sorry. Tomorrow you got Kentucky at 11, and then Dayton at 5. So I think this weekend will definitely show how much powerful you can make a statement for the not only nationally, but also for the American as well. Just shows how much American conference is good in softball as well. And then just the rest of this, non-conference schedule as well makes it kind of interesting too going forward. But the thing that stands out to me, like you brought up already, is the ERA on pitching staff regarding this. And then, like you said, if they make a mistake regarding like an error or two in the game, it's okay because they're also getting that force out when it matters most as well. So yeah, 8-3, great start for the Tigers softball program.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at them right now, John, you talk about the team ERA. They're third right now in the conference behind Florida Atlantic, who has a 1.42, and South Florida, who has a 1.63. Memphis comes in with a 2.39 ERA. Out of that, though, they've had 5 complete games, which is really, really nice to see. 1 save, 70 innings pitched, only allowed 59 hits, only allowed 37 runs. Out of those, 24 of those were earned. They have 58 strikeouts and only 38 walks so far. The Tigers have only allowed 5 doubles on the year have not allowed a single triple on the year. They're the only team in the conference who has not allowed a triple, by the way. And they've only given up 5 home runs on the season. It's impressive, man. It really, really is what this team has been able to do. Let's jump over to another conference that is very strong in the blueprint of college softball, and that is the Southeastern Conference, John. Big time stuff, man. Of course, Oklahoma comes over. We know how good Patty Gasso and that staff is. Then you've got Texas. You can't sleep on Texas right now. Um, Big time stuff. Auburn is currently 11-0. Texas is currently 11-0. These may have changed a little bit. I know Arkansas won yesterday. I think they're 12-0 now. LSU entering the week was 10-0. Oklahoma entering the week 10-0. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8 teams are currently undefeated, and out of that, no team in the SEC currently coming into this week had a losing record. What is it about this conference, John, that just pumps out softball talent?
It seems like we talked about with the Big 12 baseball. A lot of players, when they enter the portal, they go to the SEC country because not only, I mean, let's be real. If the SEC softball has one bad loss or 2 bad losses, their RPI makes up for it. Their strength of schedule this day and age for the SEC, who wouldn't want to play against one of the best right now? Like, for example, I think the University of Tennessee and other teams in the SEC are also playing down in Clearwater this weekend or somewhere down in Florida this week, where they're playing like an Oregon and Oregon State. So who would not want to play against one of the, like, for example, Oregon beat Tennessee the other day 1-0 in the softball game, but still you're going to see competitive games year in year out in the
Yep.
SEC.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. The talent for softball is second to none. You had so many teams ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, I think just about every team in the conference at one point in time was ranked, which is, I mean, that's probably a little bit of a push, but still, I mean, this conference is loaded top to bottom, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how these conferences throughout the year continue to play well. All right, let's jump over
Okay.
to
Tennessee actually in
the
California.
MLB. John is. Oh, you're good. Um, Major League Baseball's back, man. We saw the Cubs take on the Dodgers yesterday in the first spring training game of 2025. They got a 12-4 win. We did see a scary moment when the pitcher took a ball off the center of his forehead. That was scary as hell to watch. But John, today you got Rays Yankees at 12:05, 11:05 Central Time. Dodgers Cubs take on each other again at 2 o'clock. Rangers and Royals. We'll have more on that later. 2 o'clock. Mariners and Padres at 2:10, and then Rockies and Diamondbacks take on. And then tomorrow it's a litany of games. And I'm excited to watch those Chicago White Sox in spring training probably lose again as they take on the Cubs tomorrow at 2:05. John, spring training's here, man. Who are some teams, and we'll get into players in a minute, but who are some teams that you're really excited about watching in 2025?
Whew. Man, there's just so many to name on top of my head. But I want to see how they are now called the Sacramento A's for the time being. I want to see how the A's. I know people are saying, "Well, why the A's?" Um, they got a lot of players in free agency regarding contract extensions. So, AKA Brent Rooker. So
Yeah.
I want to see how the A's are going to do this spring training. I'm anxious to see how. I mean, let's be real. It's going to be hard to see. I mean, let's just say if a team goes 7-12, people got to remember this. A lot of people on their 40-man roster for a reason for spring training. Because one, they're still trying to figure out if they're going to be either in AAA or either in the majors. So don't be disappointed if your team goes like 7-12. And another team I'm going to be anxious to see how they do. Let's just do the St. Louis Cardinals, for example, too, because
Yeah.
St. Louis definitely lost some players, in the offseason as well. So that's another team that's going to be anxious to see how spring training goes for them. How about you?
Well, real quick, breaking news: game update from Memphis baseball. Due to cold temps and field conditions, today's game has been postponed, and we will now play a double header tomorrow. First pitch at 12:05. Second game will start 45 minutes after conclusion of game one. So there's a little bit of a schedule update for all of us today. To your point, John, a lot of people look at spring training, you see the record, some people get excited, some people get upset. It's spring training, right? It's spring training. Let's also not forget the spring breakout series, which starts in March, is a lot of fun to watch as well because it's the youth, it's the up and comers, it's the guys that have been drafted um, that will go play as well. There's numerous teams, man. To your point, I'm excited about watching the A's just because I've never seen them play outside of Oakland. Like, what the hell is that going to look like? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you're in Sacramento. What the crap? I mean, it's just going to be weird to watch, man. Um, the A's, I'm really excited to watch the Royals. I think the Royals are going to be a team to watch this year, especially in their minor league system. I think you're going to see a lot of movement this year. A guy like Jack Caglione and others are going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'll say it. I'm excited to watch the White Sox. I think when you look at the pitching staff the White Sox have put together, you look at the youth that they have, Hagen Smith and others. They're the only ball club in Major League that has the top two left-handed pitchers in their system. I don't know if that's ever happened in the MLB before. Another team, man, I'm really excited to watch Juan Soto, like the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
There's numerous teams that I think throughout the year. The Rangers are another team to watch. I'm really excited to watch Kumar Rocker, that is, um, get on the mound and really work for that Texas Rangers ball club. We'll get Nate Miller back on here too. You know, Nate's all about the Rangers, man. He covers that team top to bottom. Um, Major League Baseball is going to be a lot of fun. It's a long season. Everybody's like, oh my God, there's no way people watch 100 and something baseball games. You'd be shocked, folks. You'd be shocked how many people sit down and watch baseball.
Don't forget about Jack
But a
Leiter,
lot of
too,
fun.
for the Raiders. I think he's still
Exactly. I
with
was
them.
just about to say, Leiter's the same way, man. He's another guy that I'm really excited to watch. And I mean, there's talent everywhere. I mean, you look at Dylan Cruz out in Washington, right? You got numerous guys, Tommy White, um, as well. Numerous guys that are in the minors that are gonna move up this year. Um, and we'll get more into minor league baseball too. The Naturals are getting ready to get cranked up. We'll get deep into them. Um, but yeah, spring training is here, man. It started yesterday. Hearing the crack of that bat, man, it's just so nice to hear. Baseball is one of my favorite times of the sports season. So, John, we're not quite wrapping up the show yet. We got about 10, 15 minutes left. But when you look at what we've talked about today, the NHL, college baseball, college softball, MLB, what is it about all these sports that seems to just grab the attention of the nation? Now, they're all different, right? But there seems to be a large group of fans that watch only softball, right? Only college baseball, only college football. But, like, for example, with the NHL, I mean, there's probably people in the state of Arkansas that had never watched hockey before in their life that watched last night. What do you think is happening around the nation with these teams or with these sports? Because every sport just seems to be growing and growing and growing more in popularity.
let's be real. I think a lot of people are trying to enjoy sports again.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are slowly. I think it's been a long 4 years. Let's just say that. What I mean by that, it's been a lot of fans are slowly liking sports again because one, you don't have to worry about watching a lot of sports on ESPN Plus.
Hmm.
Right now, you can also watch it on Amazon Prime. You can watch it on Peacock. So
Yep.
yeah, the streaming places are taking over in a way. But what also like I think a lot of people are finally realizing is like, for example, like you brought up earlier, or we brought up earlier, the NHL is on numerous networks now. So anybody who likes hockey, they can watch it on TNT, they can watch it on ABC, they can also watch it on ESPN. And then let's be real. I think a lot of people. I want to ask you a question later on in this, but college basketball right now, like anybody can beat anybody on a given day. Still,
Yeah. 100%.
so that's one reason I think college basketball. A lot of people are tuning into college basketball right now because anybody can beat anybody on a given day. So a lot of people are saying, "Well, my team right now is predicted to be a 6 seed." Well, guess what? It can still be an 8 seed, in a couple weeks,
Yep.
or they can be an 8 seed right now and be a 5 seed later on, just because they keep on winning and they got other help too from the people that they beaten. So
Yeah.
it just makes college basketball a little bit more fun too right now too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just watching all the sports. College basketball is one that we're going to get into um, later on too. But you look around. I mean, March Madness is right around the corner, right? We're already seeing. Now, hold on a second. Did I see this right or did I see this wrong? Where they're going to announce part of the bracket early, or was that just internet BS?
Okay, last Saturday, like around 11 a.m., I believe it was, CBS had their panel of guys, whatever, they did their, I think they did their first four. I think it's not set in stone, don't hold me to it, but I think it's kind of like projections where they can do the first four in each pod and just plan it out that way
Ah,
according to
okay.
ranking, maybe. Because think
Yep.
about it, I think they had Duke in one pod, number one. Um, Kansas, not Kansas. Yeah, but Kansas is a 4 seed. But look what happened
Yep.
now. You know, I think it's just
Yeah.
like predictions, just on
Okay.
how they're doing in the regular season right now, up to date.
Because I was sitting there going, why the hell are we going to put out the first four and you're not going to put any other bracket out? You just go, oh, here's that. Here's the first four guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. A team like, for example, Arkansas, um, they're clawing to get in. You look at the game again the other night against Auburn, lost by what 7 points. And Calipari was very very open after the game. He said, "Look, this is not on me; it's on them. They've got to do this." And I mean that's all across the country. It's all across the country. But John, another fun show right here on the Sports Buffet, presented to you by Four Star Sports Media. Big time stuff, man. We got sports going on all around us, and stay tuned because we're going to keep you posted up on it all. And like I said before, it's not just a one man. This is not just a one sports show or a one team show. We talk it all. It's the whole point of this show is to bring you, our fans, our information that we receive through our media distribution list through professional teams, college teams, conferences, and more. So that's what we do here. It really doesn't matter if we're the loudest mouth of the fan base or not. We just give you facts, we give you stats, and we keep you updated professionally. But John, as we close, man, what are a couple of things that you're looking forward to as we enter the weekend in sports?
Well, I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding college basketball. That's one reason I want to ask you regarding
Sure.
basketball real quick because there's some interesting matchups this weekend regarding college basketball. But I want to ask you, part of the WNJ bracketologist out there, let's just do some predictions on based on the top of your head right now. I want you to give me two teams right now that are maybe your first four out, and then your last four in as well as we speak. I know a lot of people say, "Well, give me four teams," but I want to just give you to give me two of them on your first four out, and then your last four in, give me two of them as well.
Ooh, that's tough, man. That's tough. I think Arkansas is in one of those two windows. I think they, and honestly, it's gonna all depend on how they close out the season plus conference tournament, right? That's another thing, is you got some of these conference tournaments that you can get a what do they call it, a bid stealer out of the deal. Um, I think a team like North Texas out of the Americans, a team that you really got to keep an eye on. Right now, when you look at them, I think the last bracketology report I saw from ESPN had them ranked 54th, 53rd, somewhere around there. I think they could very well get in. I think the American could possibly be a two league team. A 2 league conference. But I mean, North Texas is right there. Arkansas is right there. Um, I mean, numerous programs around the country, John.
All right, two teams I'm gonna give, or give me, I'll give you four teams right now, and you're gonna tell me they're in or out. All right,
Okay. All right.
North Carolina.
I don't think they're in.
All right, I just man, back to back seasons is gonna be tough.
I know it's going to be tough. I know. I know.
I hate it for Hubert
I
Davis.
don't know that he
Yeah,
survives if they don't
yeah.
make it.
All right, next team, Wake Forest.
Golly. I no. I don't. I think they're in that window we were just talking about, the last four or first four. I think they're in. They could go either way, and like I said, a lot of it's going to have to do with how they close out the season, plus the upcoming ACC conference tournament for that
All right,
specific team.
yeah. So basically, you got Wake Forest maybe in that playing game in Dayton, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Lenardi's actually got Wake Forest right now as his last four in, and they got him playing Vanderbilt in Dayton in that play-in tournament or the play-in game.
That's another team that I was thinking that you really can't sleep on, and that's Vanderbilt. As crazy as
And
that
they got to
sounds, we
win some
talked about them
games. They got to win some more games. I know a lot of people
They
they
do.
got off to a great start, but the way they've been losing ball games, I know they've been losing to good teams lately, but they got to keep on winning somehow and maybe
Mhm.
make some noise in Nashville for me them to be in. Pittsburgh is my next one.
I'm gonna say yes, but I think it's gonna be like one of the first four, like playing games.
I hear you. All right. A team that a lot of people are under their radar is going to be, I'm going to do another one for you. VCU, Virginia, VCU.
Commonwealth, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. That's
They were
another one.
off to a good start, don't get me wrong, but just the way they kind of been up and down the last couple of games regarding losing some games they're not supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's very very true, man. That's VCU is one of those teams very similar, like a Vanderbilt. A Let me ask you this, John. Where do you see a team like Mississippi State ending up? They've had some great wins. They just knocked off Texas A&M recently. By the way, they did not get fined for storming the court because they waited. Very smart. They waited until Texas A&M and the officials had exited the arena. Or you can just do like the Missouri coach and get on the damn microphone and go, "Keep your
True.
ass in the seats. Don't storm the court." And nobody did. So, um, by the way, kudos to that coach. Kudos to him, man, because that not only did he say it, but everyone listened.
Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Yeah, he said save money for NIL. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mississippi State right now, I'm going to do the 5 or 6 line right now
Yeah.
for Mississippi State. As long as they keep on winning like they did over A&M this week and then over Ole Miss this past weekend down in Oxford, the way they dominated that game from top to bottom, I think you got to give Mississippi State that 5 seed or 6 seed. Just depends on. I think if State can avoid that first round in the SEC because everybody goes now, top 16 teams in advance, in Nashville. If somehow State can avoid that first round matchup, which right now they're predicted to be a 9 seed in the SEC, playing the 16 seed, if they can avoid that matchup, which I'm not saying they're going to pull, somebody's going to pull the upset, but just the way that the SEC right now is from top to bottom, everybody beating everybody. Like somebody
Yeah.
said, I think it was Coach Pope from Kentucky, right? At one time this year, a couple of games ago, conference records were 82 and 82. So yeah, Mississippi State, I'll give them a 5 seed or a 6 seed. I hope the let's just be real. I hope the bracketology this year. I mean not bracketology, but the final bracket that we see, a lot of teams are playing close to home, so fans can actually enjoy it
Yeah.
again. Because right now I'm looking at some bracketology. I see Mississippi State going further west of Seattle, for example, and I'm like, dang, Mississippi State's not going to bring that many people to Seattle, especially when you got a team like Michigan right now, a 4 seed. I'm not saying people are going to be. Well, it's a lot easier to fly from Detroit, Michigan, to Seattle,
Oh yeah,
for
100%.
example.
Well, I mean,
So
it
yeah,
happens. It happens every year. I mean, how many times did we see Duke play in Greensboro, or
right.
Duke play in Charlotte, or North Carolina for that matter, play in Charlotte? I mean, what Kentucky didn't they go to like Nashville or something? I mean, it's like they continue to put the same teams in the same spots, and then you look and a team like Memphis, you send them out to the West Coast, and then play like Gonzaga. Um, Speaking of Memphis, John, with the NCAA basketball tournament, of course, we saw where they changed the San Francisco game, but it doesn't matter because every time Temple loses, it
Mm.
just makes Memphis look worse and worse. And that Temple team's not good, folks. Um, Wichita State, by the way, Wichita State with a loss the other night continues to drop and drop and drop. Where do you see this Memphis team? I saw people online. Now, of course, people online are stupid, but I mean, we should be a 3 seed. We should be a 4 seed. What are you talking about? What? No, I think this is my honest opinion, John. People may come after me. I don't care. I think
Mhm.
Memphis right now is a 8 seed in this basketball tournament,
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. 7 or 8.
which is
Right now,
fine.
yeah.
That's okay.
And to be honest with you, I'd rather be a 7 or 8 because, like, people have brought up nation across the nation on ESPN radio, whether you listen to Fox Radio or whatever you listen to regarding college basketball talk. I think you'd rather be a 7 or 8 seed because think about it. Right now, there's really no dominant 1 or 2 seed out there unless you're Florida or maybe a Tennessee program or maybe a Houston program or somebody like that. Because I think this year in general, like you might see a team like Memphis be a 7 or 8 seed and then have a good shot of beating somebody in the second round that's either a 2 seed or a 1 seed. Because think about it, Memphis has the talent to do it. They just got to keep on winning and winning, and hopefully the teams that they beaten keep on winning too. Like you brought up Temple, man. Like, yeah, that Temple loss now, like, it just shows like how much Temple misses Jamal Mashburn Jr.
Yeah.
They can't score a bucket. And
No.
then, of course, you brought up Wichita State. They're up and down too. But that's what college basketball is right now. It's been up and down season for everybody. And look at Kansas right now. They got be like Bill Self suffered his worst loss in Kansas basketball history the other night against BYU.
He was not
Uh,
happy too. He said, "Look, we need a break from each other. Like that almost sounds like you're dating, and you go over there for a little bit, and I'll go over here. Like what? He was not happy.
I think that disappoints me the most right now in Kansas is where your best player in Hunter Dickinson came back this year and went and make a statement in the Big 12 and in the nation too. and he hasn't really done anything the last couple of ball games. Like, when was the last time you saw him go for 0 for 0 from the free throw line in the BYU matchup where the team for Kansas only went to the free throw line 3 times? For example, where do you see the passion for Kansas basketball like you have seen in years past? There's really no passion right now. The way that they're
Right.
losing to teams like BYU and Utah are on the road in a hostile environment, you're playing them. But where's the power that you've seen in years past regarding Kansas? Right now, Kansas very well could be a 7 or 8 seed too, and maybe surprising that second round matchup. But where's the power for these teams right now? For example, the only team that's really standing out to me right now that maybe is Auburn, right? Because Auburn is the best dominant team right now out there in college basketball.
Well, I mean, I think you look around the country. I mean, Auburn's playing really good basketball. Florida's playing really good basketball. Kansas, up until the other night, was playing really good
Whew.
basketball. But I think you're now starting to see, and it's taken a couple years, right? But I think you're now starting to see where the NIL and transfer portal and things like that are starting to affect everyone, not just the teams that are getting plucked, right? And I do want to mention that in my final thoughts, but I think you're seeing NIL and the transfer portal start to take a effect across this country. As we close, John, I do
Breaking
want to bring
news,
this up. So
breaking
we
news,
saw.
breaking
Oh, go
news,
ahead.
breaking news. Breaking news on the college football point. It makes you wonder, maybe going forward on the SEC might. I know I know that we'll talk about this later on next week, but the SEC very well could go to 9 games in the SEC in 2026, right? But this
Hmm.
team did not cancel it. Nebraska cancels a home and home series with
Yep.
Tennessee in 2026 and 2027. Cornhuskers must pay Tennessee $500,000 to cancel the series, which was signed on in 2006.
Yep.
However, the series was moved back to 26, 2017, or you know what I mean.
Yep.
But I hate it for both fan bases because I know both fan bases would travel.
Oh yeah.
So why do you, if you know for certain that the SEC is going 9 games, why do you cancel a marquee matchup like that? Because
I
think
think you're
about
going to
it.
see other games get canceled. I think
I
Memphis
know,
and
but
Arkansas will end up getting canceled because of that.
right, but I hate this because we talked about this regarding the college football playoff, right? Street to schedule matters.
Yeah.
So why would Nebraska want to cancel a game like that when they very well have a good shot? For example, I wanted to see that Josh Heupel versus um,
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule matchup. I really wanted to see
Yeah.
that matchup, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just found out that
Yeah.
out a few minutes ago. So yeah, breaking news on that.
Yeah. I saw that right as we were coming on. Also, speaking of college football, we've seen Texas come out. We've seen now Nebraska come out, say they will not be doing a spring game.
I think it's the
I
best thing.
understand their reasoning behind it. It makes
No.
sense to me. And really, if you look around the nation, who really does a real spring game anymore? I mean, hell, Ole Miss was dunking basketballs. Um,
It's like football.
yeah, I mean, when you really look at it, it's not really a spring. I can remember going to the spring game, and they actually had officials. They actually kept score. I mean, you could actually. It was a full deal. It was a game.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, all right, we're going to do 10 minutes down here on this side and doing this. And we're going to go down here and kick field goals for a little bit. You know what? We'll go back down here and we'll put ones versus twos. We'll see how they go. And then at the very end, we're going to put ones versus ones and we're going to have some fun. It makes sense to me. And I think this is something that's going to take hold across the nation. Um, Matt Rule and others are saying the reason they're doing it is because they don't want other teams to tamper with their players. If you look at the last few years, but if you look at the last few years, they have a great point because how many guys go and play in that spring game, and then almost that night are like, yep, enter in the portal. See you guys. You knew when you put on the helmet that day, you were going to hit the portal,
Mm-hmm.
but you wanted to go get tape. It makes sense. I understand both sides of it, right? As a player, you want to have tape on you. You want to, you want to do all that. But as a coach, you've got to protect your roster. And in today's day and age of having to re-recruit the roster, which is absolutely insane to me, I think this is going to take hold all across the country. What's your thoughts on the spring game, or lack thereof, I should say?
Yeah, you made a great point, right? Like growing up, me and you enjoyed the Memphis spring game where you
Oh
got
yeah.
to see two 20-minute halves
Mm-hmm.
of dominant football. Yeah, they were actually real play calls on the sideline, for example. Um, Now going to a spring game at, what's to say, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I went to the spring game at Memphis a couple of years ago, I'm like, is this thing over yet?
Yeah.
It's not throwing shade at the coaching staff or anything
No.
like that, but the way it's organized this day in college football, like you brought up, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here on defense, and then, for example, the scoring is so difficult to figure out too at times because a lot of people are
Yeah, the
getting
defense
points.
gets a stop, they get
Yeah,
5 points or some shit. Like, it's weird, man. Like,
but I'm
did
like,
you
come
watch?
on,
I
man.
actually watched. I was gonna say Mississippi State. I don't know if you saw their scoring last year in their game, but it was like you get a sack, you get a 2 points, you get a deflected pass, you get a point. You complete a pass, you get a point. I mean, that at the end of the day, it's gonna be like 100. It's gonna be an NBA score by the
Yeah,
time it's all said and done.
yeah, like you said. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of spring games right now anymore. To be honest with you, like
Yeah.
you said, for example, like you brought up, okay, I'm not satisfied I'm how I did in the spring game. I'm gonna go ahead and enter the portal because I know I'm gonna be like third string in the long haul or something like that. This day and age, I think a lot of more players need to compete more and see how that plays out before they actually enter the portal during the spring.
Agreed. Agreed. I also think that there's going to be changes to that portal window. I almost think that they're going to take one of those away. So instead of having a spring, you have just a winter or whatever it may be. But man, good stuff today, man. Appreciate you coming on. We'll be back next week to continue to talk more sports, as that's what we do here at Four Star Sports Media. And head over to fourstar.live. We've got some great content as well as podcasts. We've got some great articles and other stuff as well, because that's what we are. We are a multimedia journalism brand. But for John Starbuck, I am Wes Pruitt, all of us here at Four Star Sports Media. Have a good day. Get up, be good, and stay classy, folks.